Sosnowiec, a town in southwestern Poland. On September 4, 1939, German troops entered the city. In October 1942, the Gestapo decided to isolate the Jewish population in ghettos in Środula, Old Sosnowiec-Modrzejów. Środula became a concentration of young, healthy, and able-bodied people. In June 1942, Mordechai Anielewicz, the commander of the Jewish militant organization, came here from Warsaw. He met with the leaders of the youth organizations and talked about the conditions of the Warsaw Ghetto and the deportation of Jews to extermination camps. An activist in the Jewish resistance movement in Sosnowiec was Azriel Józef Kożuch, the son of Zionist activist Zelman Kożuch. He and his family lived on Dekerta Street. He was a graduate of the Stanisław Staszic State Gymnasium. He passed his maturity exam in 1938. Józef was a leader of the Hanoar Hazioni in Zagłębie, director of the youth department in the Judenrat. In 1942, he left his post after refusing to cooperate with the deportation of Zagłębie. Not far from Józef's house, at 24 Modrzejewska Street, lived Frieda Ochsenhandler Fredka Mazia. The girl was born in Sosnowiec in 1922 to a Zionist Jewish family with a tradition of German culture. She attended primary school number 4 on Kościelna Street in Sosnowiec. The girl belonged to the Zionist youth and graduated from a Polish secondary school. In 1939, Fredka, then 17 years old, as a member of the youth movement and later a member of the underground organization, worked as a nurse in a Jewish hospital. She recalls, "There was no shortage of surprises and curiosities. I remember very well the first operation in which I participated over 2 weeks of service at the age of 17. At the same time, she was involved in educational activities for Jewish children in the city. She founded and ran a daycare center for children and later an orphanage. Her memories of this period were included in the book Moi mali przyjaciele, published in 1962. In 1942, Fredka became the wife of Józef Kożuch. It all started in the lower secondary school, when Józef tried to get a group of female students, including me, into the movement. The wedding took place in April in the ghetto. Spring has sprung in the ghetto. Spring penetrated even our hearts. It was then when Józef and I announced publicly that we were getting married. It was hard for us without each other. We had been friends for many years. So at the beginning of April, not long after we had been sent to the ghetto, we got married. The happiness of the young did not last long. In August 1943, Józef organized armed resistance during the ghetto liquidation action. At that time, 400 Jews, including Józef, were killed. After Józef's death, Fredka decided to act. She remembered the words of her husband, who asked, "When something happens to one of us, the other must keep going." Fredka continued to work as a liaison officer. She made contact with the Kraków underground and obtained weapons. Acting in the underground ranks of the Our Group, she rescued Jews who, thanks to false identity cards, were smuggled from Poland through Slovakia to Austria and Hungary, and from there to Romania. During one of her expeditions, Fredka was captured and imprisoned in Katowice. In December 1943, after 4 months in prison, she was sent to Auschwitz. A bribed Gestapo officer sent her back to Sosnowiec. From there, she escaped to Slovakia, then reached Budapest. By telling the story of her escape, she was able to understand the strength of the organization her friends had built to smuggle and rescue Jews. In March 1944, Fredka emigrated to Israel. She joined Kibbutz Tel Isaiah and then, as an emissary of the Hebrew settlement, went to the displaced persons camps in Italy, where she stayed for a year. In 1961, Mazia testified in the Eichmann trial. In 1963, she participated in an official delegation to mark the 20th anniversary in the Warsaw Ghetto. This event motivated her to organize an Israeli youth delegation to Poland, which took place in 1965. Fredka, as a survivor of the Holocaust, led the group. These trips became a tradition over time. The project had an impact on the lives of Israeli youth. The perception of the Holocaust and the commemoration of the Holocaust. Fredka Mazia talked and wrote about the Holocaust. She documented events from the past. She recorded collective testimony from Yad Vashem and the home of ghetto fighters. She described her story in her memoirs. In the 1960s, Mazia was a history teacher at Lich High School in Ramat Gan, where she taught about the Holocaust without an official curriculum. Her short story, "Mama, is it allowed to cry anymore?" was included in the Makarat Israel textbook for primary schools in the 1970s and 1980s. She remembered Joseph's request to the end. "When something happens to one of us, the other must keep going." Jewish fighter. Died in 1994 and was buried in Kibbutz Hogan.